So we're back and now ready for our next briefing on hunger and food security. Our more civic leader is Michael Gada with the San Antonio Food Bank. But I think if I asked Michael if he is also a person of faith, he would.
He would say yes.
He would say yes. And Damaris is with us from City Church. She is on the ministerial staff there. And so she's representing the kind of faith leadership here in this mutual service conversation. And I think if I asked Damaris if she was also a civic leader, she would say
absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. So knowing that we all kind of come equipped that way helps us to also kind of break down the silos and be a little bit more confident, at least in serving together. We don't always have to believe the same way to serve together and to lead. So I want to thank you both for being with us. Hand this over to Michael and Damaris.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Anne. We're very joyed to be here. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael, and thanks for that very kind and warm introduction. And yeah, I spent the first 20 plus years of my career in Austin, and in that time I was in pastoral and congregational leadership. So way overschooled in undergrad and grad schools with theology and religious studies degrees. But 17 years ago, transitioned in to help lead the food bank in Austin, and just finished my first decade back home in San Antonio in this role as the Chief Resource Officer at the food bank. And just so excited to be presenting today with Damaris. We get to work together a lot, and she shares her other half with us here at the food bank. He's one of my great team leaders as well. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a briefing on hunger and food security. And just a great photo there from one of our distributions. And there's so much in that photo that I could talk about. Just the kind of exchange that I think this community is so great at, right? Of empowering individuals of all ages, and especially showing kids the power of service to help in our community. And you see one of our seniors kind of receiving help there. Anyway, so I wanted to just give you in this briefing a couple of quick updates. You know, the question that Eric and I get the most from folks is, how are things? What's the outlook? What are we seeing and understanding in our community? What's the data telling us? And so I wanted to share with you in just this brief time a couple of key data points that might surprise you. You know, looking back with our team at some of the data for October, November, and December, and you would have thought by October, you know, a year and a half or so into a pandemic response, that the food bank would not be seeing people for the first time, that those individuals who were out of work or people who had kind of a more chronic long-term need like a senior, that we would have seen them at least once in the last year and a half. But surprisingly, in October, 41% of the households that we served were first-time visitors. And that's just kind of in the greater San Antonio Bexar County area. So you got to let that sink in. I mean, it's a pretty stunning number. You know, we're estimating there were probably 900,000 individuals across 2021 that got a touch for a food benefit. It's a pretty staggering number. So 41% first time in October, and even in November, that number stayed high at 36%. So I think what we're seeing really is kind of if you think about chronic and acute need, they're definitely like the senior in this picture. She might have a chronic need being on fixed income that's just going to be long-term. But I think what we're seeing is people kind of coming and going with kind of acute need. They may get a service once or twice, and then they're okay. Their household is stabilized. It saw them through a particular crisis. Additionally, about 20% of those households were senior-led households. The general makeup is what you might expect. It's a household of a mom with 2 kids. That's the general makeup. As you might guess also though, you know, knowing San Antonio, some of those families are much bigger. 40% have 6 or more individuals in them, and about 20% 8 or more individuals in them. So many times individuals like at this mobile food distribution are seeing a car that has a need for 8 individuals in it. So I just wanted to share that with you. As the pandemic has kind of moved through and we've seen more and more people accessing a service, I think we started to pivot with Eric's leadership to something we've called Secure SA. And it really is just thinking about we don't want to go back to the way it was, that the old normal of feeding 60,000 individuals a week with a food benefit is not good enough. And we're at 90,000 right now. So whereas that number continues to stay high, 50% over what it was before we got into the pandemic, not maybe at the high water mark. At one point, we're actually at 180,000 and for a long time, 120,000. So it's normalized maybe to a new number. We're still watching it, of course, just to kind of see what's the ebb and flow of the need. But Secure SA really was thinking about, okay, we have a food benefit, but how do we also affect with food, housing and employment and education? And we've had new partnerships with Saha and Prospera from the housing perspective. We're actually putting some apartments in ourselves next to our New Braunfels Food Bank in Comal County. Strong partnerships and new partnerships with Pre-K for SA and Alamo colleges on the education side. And then with Workforce Solutions, Alamo and Project Quest on the workforce side. And just thinking, how does the influence of food help to stabilize households? How do we influence wage and job training? And then when it comes to education, if you talk to Dr. Mike Flores, the first thing he's going to say is his biggest competitor is poverty. It's keeping kids in school. And so we feel like if we can bring a food benefit, to a college age student that might be in one of the Alamo colleges, that will help stabilize them to maybe not leave so that they can feed their family or feed their own household. So the Secure SA work is something I think you'll hear a lot more about from Eric and from the San Antonio Food Bank in the coming months. Just to kind of close this little part of my briefing out, our framework, especially when we think about our work with our faith community and our interfaith community in the region, it's really twofold. It's about how people can get help and give help. And that get help work, that photo there, it's about, people know us because of they get help first with food for today. So a food benefit or a meal. But we know that there's other ways that we can help to put food on the table through SNAP benefits and through other public benefits that help to stabilize a household financially. This year, we'll grant out and give out about $160 million worth of food in groceries and meals. But we'll actually do $250 million in helping provide SNAP benefits to individuals and to families. And so both of those are important. One, that food for today is the groceries that you need. The food for tomorrow work and SNAP benefits and public benefits enrollment. And Food for a Lifetime really is in that space of helping people in job training and workforce development. And additionally, with a little bit of nutrition education. So once you have your own income, many times our families that we're working with just need training and understanding and awareness when it comes to how to budget for food, how to cook the right foods, how to have a more colorful plate, and just have a more nutritious, well-rounded meal. So real important there. For people who want to give help, that's actually the space that I live in a lot right now is the give help world. People give help in 4 areas: in food, time, money, and voice. So all of those are fairly straightforward. Through food, through community food drives, and Damaris is going to talk about an interfaith effort called Feed SA that focuses on that. Time through volunteerism, and I will just highlight in this briefing, you're going to see some call outs from Eric and myself over the coming days through social and regular media. January, February are traditionally low times for volunteers at the food bank. But this year, with the kind of crush of the Omicron variant and where COVID is, volunteers are staying away. And we don't have the National Guard to backfill like we did at the beginning of the pandemic a couple of years ago. And so a real call out to our community to, if you're healthy and can work within our own COVID protocols, we're going to need you very much in January and February to be able to meet the mission. There's a lot of food that came in during the holidays. We want to make sure we get out to our food pantry partners, most of those at churches. And so just needing volunteers now more than ever. So if you all can lean in that way, that would be huge. So food, time, money, of course, philanthropy. While we are very efficient with our funds, operating on only 2% administrative overhead, we use a lot of those dollars to bring in produce and other fresh items. Probably some of you surprised that 40% of what's going out of the food bank is actually a produce item. So it's not just a canned good. And the last item that we need, or the last thing that we ask our community to help us with, is the gift of voice. That's really lifting us up in prayer. That's helping us engage you all and engage the community in education and awareness. And then, of course, through all forms of social media. So Lauren Deal's a person on my team and for us that does this great interfaith community engagement work. If you all haven't met her, I hope that you do invite her to be a part of a meeting soon, virtual or otherwise. And I know she'll have a whole menu of ways that our faith community can engage the San Antonio Food Bank, both in the give help, like you want to be a pantry, want to learn how to help your community more from a food for today, tomorrow, lifetime strategy. And then if you want to give help besides get help, she also knows all those ways as well. She is our lead person in working with Feed SA and Damaris Fike. I'm going to toss it to her to talk a little bit about Feed SA and also other ways that her particular work is making a difference in the community.
Thank you, Michael. So Feed SA is simply just a citywide collaborative effort of congregations, businesses, and individuals fighting hunger through raising food, funds, and serving with the San Antonio Food Bank. And so really quick, how it started, it was one congregation in 2009 who led a food drive. And as they started listening more to the community and listening to the experts at the San Antonio Food Bank, what we had learned was that if we were to make some adjustments in this campaign, in this drive, by adding money and time to ways people can volunteer, we knew that it could be better for our city. And also moving it into probably one of the most crucial time, especially for children, in the summer months of San Antonio. This is when 1 out of 4 children are experiencing food insecurity. And so we wanted to make sure that we were working alongside the San Antonio Food Bank in the best way possible. And so for the past over a decade now, we've had over 30 congregations, businesses, and countless number of individuals involved in Feed SA, this collaborative fundraising effort with the food bank. And over this decade, we've raised close to 4 million meals just through the collaborative effort. But I will say that our work is not done. As you can hear Michael sharing about the food insecurity within our city and how the pandemic has kind of inflated that as well. And we know that it is present in our cities, but more personal to many of you and your congregations, it is present in our pews, in our temples, and in our mosques. So I can't think of a better community than the faith community to rise up and to help fight hunger. And so I do believe it's about putting our individual faiths into action. And it's something that anyone, and whether you're part of a faith community or not, you can take part in Feed SA. And what we desire to do through Feed SA is just resource whoever is involved, congregations, organizations, to help them fight hunger. And we do this through resourcing who we call champions. And so champions are our partners in this fight. And it's awesome to see some of you all leading congregations and organizations and businesses here on this call that are part of it already. And so this year we're going to be doing our campaign between April and June. We're going to be focused on raising that food, raising funds. And the great thing is when you do become a Feed SA champion, you're provided with resources like physical, tangible things to help your congregation with drives, but then also some digital assets. And what we love to hear from this is the stories, right? The stories of people being able to receive the food that they need. But even beyond the people on the receiving end, and I'll end with this, is the stories not only of those being served, but those serving. You know, when you give the opportunity for your faith congregation to get involved and them to live out their purpose through serving others, it is one of the most beautiful things We get to see families serving together and giving their time at the food bank or an urban garden, or you get to see children with huge bags of coins that have been saving it up for years to bring to fight hunger. You know, one year we had this gentleman come up in our food drive, and he was riding a bike, but he carried this big plastic tote with a non-perishable items because he knew what he was able to do, and it made a huge difference. And the last story I'll share is about a wonderful lady named Linda who came and brought her food and her funds. And I thanked her for just her ability and her desire to help and to fight hunger. And she stopped me and she said, "No, thank you. You don't know what this means for me in being able to have the opportunity to serve." And so we want to make Feed SA available for every congregation, every organization. If you would love to help us and join us in fighting hunger alongside the food bank, we make it very easy with resources and a community to help you in this. And if you guys want to know more, we have the slide up so you can learn more, and we'll also be in the breakout session to answer any additional questions.
Wow, thank you both for that. That was really, really great. Don't we have some great briefing presenters today? I mean, like, we're just getting what we need, right? And that's one of the things that's so exciting about at the intersection that happens weekly. We just keep talking about current things, and we get what we need to know as leaders. We get more equipped, and we're able to share that with others.